All right, I'm making this video with a caveat in the front. So, not everybody is like me. I can only speak from experience and what I've lived through or what I've seen people go through, but I can't necessarily tell you what's the right or the wrong way. I just have an unction or a gut feeling on certain things, and I might be passionate about it. But if it doesn't fit you, then don't fit you. Take it or leave it. But I'm making this video to kind of help men specifically get out of the situation they're in, which is a lot of people that I know that are in California, and I know they're in a lot of metropolitan areas where the income that is required to move out is so high that either you got to work two and a half jobs, or you got to have a roommate. And I just wasn't the person. I was never the person to get a roommate. I do not like living with people. So I suffered not paying for rent, i.e. living with my parents, for 10 years out of my life. So I'm making this video in my own spot now. It hasn't even been a month yet. Signed the lease, 12 months. Gave me anxiety doing that, but the goal was to get out of the home. There's previous videos that document the process of that you can watch, but that's besides the point. The reason I'm making this video is because when I moved out, I finally actualized as a human, as a man. It was almost like everything fell into place, because being alone, it is natural. I was already when I was in my parents' house, even when I was born, actually, or not when I was born, but as I was growing up, I was always okay with being alone. But this is further solidified, like how I don't need anybody, I don't need anyone. Obviously, I want a family in the future, but it just makes everything just falls into place when you leave. I wish I could explain it more, and I would really just be ranting if I kept trying to talk about it. But bear with me here. I have all these business ventures in my head. I have all these ways of life that I want to come into. But if you don't get the very basic stuff first, then you're unwise to work against yourself and to work against the natural way of things. You're working against all of that to try and start a business when you get home, or when you live with your parents, or invest in all these money instruments while you still live with your parents, just because you don't want to use that income to live on your own. See, I always thought, like, okay, I can get I'll give you some reasons as to why I justified staying home. Rent is so high here. Okay, move out. Move to another state. Problem solved. I don't want to pay someone else to live somewhere if I'm not going to just get a mortgage. Okay. So what you're saying is, because you don't want a mortgage and you don't want to rent because you think you're throwing away the money by not just getting a mortgage, and because you don't have the financial capacity to get a mortgage, you're just going to wait until you get that. That doesn't really add up. But most importantly, so you mean to tell me that if you get into a nice apartment where you're living by yourself and you're paying $1,200 a month, are you telling me right now that 12 times $1,200, what is that? Let me do the math. I can't do the math. 24,000 plus something, right? You mean to tell me that the price of being a man is not worth that? Is the price of being a man worth that amount of money? Because I'm telling you right now, you are not a man if you cannot live on your own two. If you can't stand on your own 2 feet, you're not a man. You're not. So because that part of you inside is like not complete, and you're not congruent with yourself, you have this fundamental anxiety, this fundamental depression, this fundamental lack of value. Your dignity it's not there. You have none. You are not a man. The only rite of passage, one of the last rites of passage men have is to move out. And I was stupid for not realizing this sooner. But obviously there are some exceptions. But generally speaking, especially all of my friends, they're all in the same boat as me. You lack dignity because you lack discipline, you lack independence, you lack sustainability, self-sustainability. All these things I'm basically repeating myself by saying it. But understand, until you move out, your business will suffer. Until you move out, your goals and your drive will suffer. Until you move out, your dignity, your confidence, it is all capped. See, now that I'm here, right now, I'm in the middle of my job. But my job's at a pause because the lady who's training us right now, she's training other people. So I'm just thinking like, okay, how could I be the most productive with my time? But I never thought like that when I was in this island of isolative security blanket. It was such a weird, and it was like purgatory. Being at my place for too long, for that long, being at my parents' house for too long, it was literally becoming hellish. I'm telling you right now, you guys all know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to, all I'm doing, me speaking this to all these men who are watching, and if you know somebody, share it with them. I'm only going to affirm what's in their spirit. You have to get out. So if you got 10 grand, get out. If you got 5 grand, move to a place where it'll be cheap enough. Get out. Because you cannot respect yourself. You cannot have any dignity. You cannot have any self-esteem or any value unless you are independent. That is the first step of being a man. And it took me 10 years to freaking realize that. It was honestly God who helped me snap out of it. It wasn't myself. But as I'm living here, doing what I gotta do to survive, slightly stressed out about my bills, slightly stressed out about the next move. I'm relying on myself, but most importantly, I'm relying on God. So therefore, my morals are becoming more and more aligned. How I want to move is that much more and more concise. Everything is calculated. Everything is clear. But when you're in the nest, when you're in your parents' home, you have all these distractions. You have your mother's and your father's insecurities constantly bombarding you. You have your will and theirs against each other. It is such a stupid and wasted potential to be stuck there. So just remember, this is your homework. If you still live with your parents, remember this. Mr. Man, remember this. Ask yourself, am I really trying the best to get out? What excuses am I making? What excuses am I making for myself? Why is it taking this long? Don't blame the economy. Don't blame your governor. Don't blame your local government. Don't blame society. Don't blame the white man. You can only blame yourself. Your decisions have only cascaded to your consequence of failing to launch. So your homework is you gotta sit in a quiet room and just really think about how you gotta get out. I got some videos about it, but that's just the way I did it. So I promise you, once you move out, even though you will be stressed, even though it'll be hard, it'll be better. Because adversity is how you gain strength. Resistance is how you grow. Pain, and sometimes, is how we develop and evolve. So, all right, y'all.